first hymn is in the Sing book, number 73, Like a Healing Stream. Please rise and pray.
Today's first reading is Psalm 139. Verses 1 through 16. Yahweh, you search me and you know me. You know if I am standing or sitting. You read my thoughts from far away. Whether I walk or lie down, you are watching. You are intimate with all my ways. A word is not even on my tongue, Yahweh, before you know what it is. You hem me in before and behind, shielding me with your hand. Your knowledge is too wonderful for me, a height my mind cannot reach. Where could I run with your spirit? Where could I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in death, you're already there. I could fly away with wings made of dawn, or make my home on the far side of the sea. But even there your hand will guide me, your mighty hand holding me fast. If I say the darkness will hide me, and night will be my only light, even darkness won't be the dark to you. The night will shine like the day. Darkness and the light are the same to you. You created my inmost being and stitched me together in my mother's womb. For all these mysteries I thank you, for the wonder of myself, for the wonder of your works. My soul knows it well. My frame has not hidden from you while I was being made in that secret place, knitting together all the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my body, even there. All of my days were written in your book, all of them planned, before even the first of them came to be. That ends our reading.
Our second reading comes from the Gospel of Luke. Turning to the woman, he said to Simon, "See this woman? I came into your house, and you gave me no water to wash my feet, but she has washed them with her tears and dried them with her hair. You gave me no kiss of greeting, but she covered my feet with kisses. You didn't anoint my head with oil, but she anointed my feet with oil. For this reason, I tell you, her sins, which are many, have been forgiven. See how much she loves. But the one who is forgiven little loves little." Then Jesus said to the woman, "Your sins are forgiven." Those also sitting at the table began to ask among themselves, "Who is this who even forgives sins?" Meanwhile, Jesus said to her, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." So today we've carved out time to celebrate 30 or maybe 31 years, depending on when you start counting. 30 plus years of being open and affirming here in this congregation, that we are affirming people who are LGBTQ as beloved members of Christ's body. And I woke up this morning kind of frazzled. First, I'm house sitting, so it's not my regular routine of getting ready. And then I wake up to the news of the shooting in Ohio just after, not even 24 hours before the shooting in Texas, and feeling extra frazzled, like trying to get into like celebration mode when there are these kinds of atrocities that are 100% preventable happening in our midst in this country that is supposedly for those who are free. And putting that side by side with, again, a people who continue to be ostracized and killed and done violence against in this country. People who are LGBTQ, people of color, people who are from other countries and whatnot. Being able to hold it all together and still get into celebration mode. I feel like I literally preached this sermon in June for Pride Month about trying to get into celebration mode, but still having to hold all the pieces of what's going on in the world. All of that to say, I left the house and everything, including my sermon, with me. So the good news is I was going to open this up so we can reflect and share together what being able to celebrate this Open and Affirming Sunday might mean to each of you. The bad news is I'm not an actor because I can't memorize script, so I'm really just be freestyling this. I'd like though first to begin with, if you turn your programs to page 6. We have our Open and Affirming Covenant. We print it every single week. We have it on our banner, this new banner for us. And we don't actually take the time, at least not collectively, to revisit these words that were put together as our covenant and our commitment for folk who are LGBTQ. And so I thought it might be good for us to start today by reading together this covenant that we have here at First Congo. So if we can please bring together our voices and read. First Congregational United Church of Christ, Ypsilanti, celebrates everyone, including people of all ages, races, cultures, sexual orientations, gender identities and expressions, family configurations, economic circumstances, physical, cognitive, or emotional abilities, education or spiritual or religious traditions. All are welcome to participate fully in the life, leadership, ministry, and missions of this church as we seek to grow together in a safe and nurturing community of faith. We strive to demonstrate in all ways that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I'll just encourage us, as we journey further into, this commitment to being open and affirming, that we revisit this script that we've written for ourselves and balance that against, what it is that we do and say as a community and even individually, that people can actually not just hear the words that we've put together so well, that they can feel them in our actions and in how we treat others, regardless of their identities. So I'd love for us to, I would love to hear from y'all. We don't do testimony in the liberal church, but I would love to have folk kind of share any of their testimony, whatever that may be. Maybe you've been here since the beginning of time. Maybe you're the one that helped craft this statement. Maybe you've only been here 1 or 2 times, but I would love to hear, how it is that having this congregation be open and affirming affects you in your life.
I'll go first.
Yes.
Historically, it was a November day. We had a bit of excitement as we knew we sure hoped that we were going to become, by vote of the congregation, United Church of Christ opening for the new congregation. And as the service rolled through, we didn't feel any dissension. And in fact, the vote during the quarterly meeting was unanimous. Our pastor, John Rhodey, at the time sat and cried. He was so moved. And the rest of us just got all goosebumpy. We were so thankful for God on that day.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thinking about, I was around during that period too, and I don't quite remember where I was coming from, but I'm pretty sure, as a white male, middle class American straight guy, I probably was thinking, why do we have to do this uncomfortable thing here? And yet, before I could ever actually say that out loud, members of the congregation who were gifting me with their openness and ability to talk about their in that case, sexual orientation, helped me figure out, helped me struggle with that. And I remember, by the time we had that unanimous vote, the person I always remember was Ivanette, what was the last name? Wiles. Sort of the, I don't know, when she spoke up, this is a retired person in the congregation who'd been a leader for many years, and when she said, I think we should do this, or something like that, it just kind of took away any other, I may be a little uncomfortable about this, but I do not want to stand in the way of this. And so the whole process helped me, I feel like, grow as a person. I need to grow a lot more, but that's an important piece.
Just want to say a couple things based on national UCC. Our church, our congregation, was the very first congregation in the state of Michigan of the UCC to go open and affirm. We were the 22nd church in all of the denomination to go open and affirm. Right now, we're at 1,612 open and affirming congregations in the national denomination. We're at 48 in Michigan. So we kind of like started it. So I want to thank everybody that's here that helped start that.
What really was the beginning of all of this was when we worked on our language. And working on our language has opened doors to all kinds of inclusiveness, including when we worked on being ONA. I was not excited. I wasn't opposed to it, but I didn't understand why people were so excited about voting on something we've been doing. But when John Brody cried from the pulpit, it sort of struck me that maybe this wasn't really a big deal. It didn't seem so big then to me until that moment.
Being a little bit younger than some of the people that spoke, like,
You should
I've
be
always,
talking loud enough.
I said, being a little bit younger than some of the other people that spoke, I just always felt like this congregation was, for most of my history, was O&A. And so kind of going based off what Glenda and Wayne were saying, you go outside of the community and like, kind of more what Glenda was saying, like, this is who we are, and for O&A, you go to either Michigan Conference, or I've been a delegate a few times in General Synod, National, and either at conference, people say, oh, you're in the O&A church, right? Yeah.
Is it everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. How is that? I'm like, it's great. Yeah, you should try it. And then you go to national, and people, I didn't know that. First I went to national, people were like, I'm from such and such, we're a, Just Peace Church, and so I was like, oh, I'm here. We're a Just Peace, and we're an O&A, and people came up to me afterwards, you're in an O&A church? Wow. I was like, wow, that's so sad for everybody else that isn't, like, that it's such a wow, like, that it's always been just what I, consider who we are. So it's really been enlightening when you go out to the rest of the world and UCC world. But it is a proud thing for me when I'm able to go out and say that and talk to people about it.
To me, it's been, I've only been here 4 times, but it's been a big deal that it's not made a big deal of. I totally appreciate that we're celebrating that it is a big deal today, but what's become, I just want to celebrate that it's historically changed, that it used to be that it was a fight to be ONA. And I know everybody here knows that, but I knew it in Tucson, Arizona, where in 2005, I went to a UCC church that had a lesbian pastor, and I remember, we were ONA, but I remember how she and her wife were not quite sure whether they should point to their relationship in front of at least one of the older parishioners who was a special friend of mine. She was like, maybe I should walk, sort of tiptoe around this with him. And here, this has just been the most barrier-free church I've ever set foot in. LGBT is only a small part of my identity, but to walk into a church where I wasn't sure whether I'd be accepted or not, or had to tiptoe, is just a barrier. And here I just felt from the very moment I walked in that, or at least as far back as I remember, only a month ago, but it seems forever, that it was just, this was free. This was, I could think about other things. I didn't have to think about ONA unless I wanted to.
To make sure others know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
For a second.
I just wanted to say, I am thankful for this church for the fact that it's ONA, because actually that's what brought me back to the church. I grew up in Detroit in a strictly Baptist church, to the point where one of my aunts didn't believe in playing dice games because she thought dice was evil. So it was really hard for me. I kind of felt like I had to make a choice between my sexuality and my spirituality. And so unfortunately, I dropped back out of spirituality. But the first time I came to this church, I just fell in love with it. I felt welcomed, and they made Desiree feel at home. And as a result, I joined. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing me back as far as my spirituality.
Just to kind of dovetail on what several people have said, after John wrote, he became so emotional, and then I think later on he said that he was quite surprised that it passed unanimously. And most of us went, really, why? Because we, like many have said, we just thought that's who we were and had been for some time. So.
There are a lot of stories that live inside of y'all, and so I would love to encourage y'all to continue to share stories and over cake later, which I don't know who laid that out, but now I'm just completely distracted, but it's fine. It's fine. Nothing to see here. But he is especially marked, right, to have that. And these scriptures that I chose, I went off lectionary for these. We hear about Jesus encountering, this dinner party for these elite folk, and then inviting a woman who was known for her sins publicly, right? That Jesus would invite her to the table, and that Jesus would not only allow her to be at this table, which was socially taboo, right? But that she was able to adorn him with this oil and to wash his feet, and to be lavish and extravagant about her gratitude for him to be able to welcome her, to see her as a full human being. And as we get into the reading today, Jesus looks at Simon and says, do you see this woman? Which seems kind of strange, right? Because obviously he could see the woman, which is why Simon was acting out why are you letting her do this, right? But Jesus was asking if he can see her, not the sins that the society had placed on her, not her identities as a woman person and interacting with a man person in this way, not whatever it was that he perceived about who she was based on what he could see on the outer layers, but could he actually see this person? Can he see her? And for me, that's a big portion of what this ONA commitment is, being able to see people for who they are, not just because of who they might be sleeping with, or how they identify with their gender, or, how they relate to folk in relationships, whether romantic or aromantic or whatever else. But can we see this person beyond the rainbows, right? Can we see them beyond, whatever other identities and social faux pas that we've placed upon them based on what we can see on the outer layer? And I think that's the challenge for us as we continue to dig into our ONA commitment is, can we truly see folk? And I really appreciated how some of y'all were reflecting, right? It wasn't just about the rainbows, right? Just as a marketing ploy, but this is the identity of the people who are already gathered here. And to vote ONA unanimously, felt kind of, what's the word I'm trying to say? Anticlimactic, because as y'all were reflecting, this is just who y'all are. And yet, doing so allows folk who are not here already to know that should they come here, they won't be ostracized and questioned about how it is that we show up, whether that's with our tears and oil at Jesus' feet or whatever other way, right? And I love this scripture of seeing coupled with this Psalm 139 where we learn about how Jesus knits us together in wombs and knowing us before we even are aware of what knowing is. And I love this for a people, particularly LGBTQ, to be able to get that sense of who we are in our fullness is good. Who we are in our fullness is a gift of and from God, that we are fully beautiful and wonderfully made in God's image. I'm listening to y'all reflect, and I'm can't do math. I was trying to do math on my fingers and see if I could discreetly pull out my calculator to find the time zone. But I think it's about, when y'all were out here voting, I was a youngin', and about a year or two before my family moved back to South Africa, and we were there for the 4 years and learning brand new culture as apartheid was ending, and seeing how literally this racist-based regime has affected my whole entire life even before I even got here. And those 4 years of my being there, getting a sense of how not African woman I actually was, and we returned to the U.S. and over those next few decades as I grew into an adult and now a pastor, it is so amazing to me that this vote that y'all took, as I was completely oblivious to your existence or even my queerness or even about the UCC or anything, that y'all were preparing for this moment where a black, queer, trans, African pastor could be here in your midst to do ministry together with you. And so these tiny actions that maybe have felt like kind of redundant, like why are we doing this? And it feels little. I just want y'all to see reflected back that this is a moment that could not have happened had y'all not taken that time to vote in what was obvious to you, right? As we are, historically the first Michigan church to be O&A, perhaps even the first church historically here in Michigan to have a black, queer, trans pastor, that this is who y'all are, right? That this isn't about trying to be a UCC first, but this is truly about y'all reflecting back who you already are, who God has knit together, all of us, and brought us into this moment together to be in ministry so that many others who are being knit together may truly see the face of Christ reflected not just in us, but in their own faces as well. Because unfortunately, we're in a time where the Christianity of society is rolled up in white supremacy and colonialism in a way that becomes violent to many and only benefits a few. We need First Congo and others like First Congo to reflect back this God who interacts with folk who are socially ostracized, this God who sees the value and worth in every single person, maybe even especially in those who are pushed to the margins. If that's not the Christ that we're reflecting back, it makes me suspicious about what Christ it is that you're following. And so I'm grateful for each and every one of you, those who were there that day at the vote, those of you who have come along since, and those who built up so that that vote could happen. I'm so very grateful personally, but also as a clergy person in this tradition, to have people who are faithful and listening to and still speaking God, to how it is that we may be able to continue to extend God's goodness to each and every single one of us. We don't get to capture it for ourselves, but this is for all of us. So each of you, I don't know all about your lives and everything. I just want each and every single one of you, as we're getting ready to come to this table that's been opened and set for all of us, wherever we may have been 30 plus years ago, wherever we are now, that this table is open for each and every one of us. We may not vote the same, we may not look the same, we may not read the same stuff or listen to the same music, but each and every single one of us are made in God's image, carefully and intimately. My hope is that even as we celebrate with these rainbows and bright colors, that we can see ourselves reflected back in Christ's face, because we are indeed a very essential part of this body. And I'm grateful for being able to find a Christianity that allows for me to exist in my fullness and my continuing revelation of who it is that I am, and grateful to be amongst others who can do the same. And I don't really say this a lot, but I just also want y'all to know that I truly and deeply love you. Even if I don't know your personal life, and some folk I haven't met yet, I need you to know that I love you and that your lives matter intensely to me. And if I'm trying to get free, we've all got to be free. Because if we're not all free, I can't be free. And I'm all about that free life. So let's continue to widen our commitments, not just for LGBTQ folk, but for all people who are in need of God's transformative love in this world. Amen. Wrote some hymns that we've been allowed to sing without having to pay a fee or get special permission. So please stand as you're able as we sing this song. Now we have this opportunity to give back to God which is first given to us. And we're invited, as you were moved, to give cheerfully and openly.
May
Your gifts of love transform and revive in us, so that we may live lives of thanksgiving. May your presence among us provoke such longing for your realm, that we will never be satisfied until the whole earth knows your justice, your peace, and your love. Amen.
Let's do 342. You said no.
Sorry. I flipped the page too fast.
We get to take this time yet again to remember and recall the story of Jesus, who was eating supper like they did many times with his friends. But on this day was a special day, Jesus knowing what was ahead for him. Jesus took the bread, which he had done many times before, and he blessed it. And then this time though, he broke it and he said to his friends, "This is my body which has been broken for you and for all. And every time you do this in remembrance of me." And then we're told that after supper, he took the cup, he poured it out, and he blessed it. And he said to his friends, "This is my blood, which has been poured out for you and for all. And every time you drink of it, remember me." So on this day, in the year 2019, we get to come again around these gifts of broken body and blood poured, as we recall the many whose bodies were broken and bled. Many of them, like Jesus, were killed by the state. Many of them are killed by preventable things that the state is choosing not to deal with. And so we bring all of them who have gone before us, way before they should have been, and we gather around these gifts and remember them, remember all of us, and our LGBTQ ancestors who gave of their bodies and the blood that poured out of them so that we could be here on this day. And so we thank them and we thank Jesus for the gift, these gifts that are placed before us, asking that the Holy Spirit may come over these gifts so that when we consume them, we too will be blessed by this very gift that Jesus has given. Amen. So, Kiki, do you mind helping? You hold the bread. We'll begin with folk who have any gluten sensitivities. You'll come up, take a cracker, and you'll dip it into the cup, and you'll eat it and return to your seat. And then for the rest of us, we like to tear off the piece of bread, dip it into the cup, and then you return to your seat. All things have been made ready. Please, come. This body broken. Yes, God. Yes, God. Yes, God. Yes, God. Yes, God. Please join me in our prayer of thanksgiving. Creating God, blessed are you, and blessed is this time and place. Thank you for your people gathered here. Reconciling Redeemer, you are the mender of our souls and the healer of our broken bodies. You lift us up, strengthen and sustain, nurture and nourish, heal and help. Holy fire, ignite a new spark in the heart of each of us. Light our way, warm our bodies, inspire our tongues to speak a new word, to shout another praise, and to sing an amazing song that will bring us to life and to you. Amen. Please stand as you're able. We'll sing our closing hymn, number 120 in our Sing book, Dream God's Dream.
And
Just a reminder, after the postlude, we're all invited to head over to the cake table. And there are other things on the table there. Wait, is that ice cream? Are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
Right.
It's the anniversary.
Yes, 30 plus years. I totally lost my train of thought. I know better. My wish for all of us truly, right, is that we can dream God's dream. This dream that surpasses what we know or what we can even imagine. But together, we can absolutely not just dream God's dream, but to actually live God's dream. And so with the psalmist, I want to leave us with the blessing of knowing that wherever we may find ourselves, God is with us. Whether we're in the highest of heavens or the deepest of hells, God is with us. And God has always been us since before we were even formed, and every part of our formation. And even as we continue to evolve from year to year, God is with us. Us, the way that we are. God loves us so very deeply, just the way we are. And also loves us way too much to let us stay that way. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, that's probably best.
Do you live in the neighborhood? I saw you walking this morning. Oh.
Before I get distracted by the ice cream, I just wanted to say, hey, Mila. Sierra.
Okay.
Sierra.
Good, good.
Please feel free to stick around. Oh, nice.
We've always
Yeah.
Today is actually not.
Oh my gosh. I actually did a
Deadline for
That are ready.
Yeah, like trying to like remember it so I can like.
Right. And then by August, you're starting to get a little bored.
Hey, good to see you.
I know. Blink of an eye, isn't it? You've met Betsy. Betsy's been with us for a while. This is Chris. And she's enjoying this at friendship time and getting to know each other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Chris has a niece that she was going to go on their own.
No, yeah, we can't. George is no, I think so.
So that's good. That's awesome.
The last, like,
Really, I didn't know if they could.
they can't.
So this is
They started.
in St. Louis. There was like
Yeah, you know, just basically.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to look at it.
Colors. Yeah. We had like three at the beginning.
Patty?
Patty.
Yes.
But you know what I need to do, you know, like.
Hang it in there. Hang it in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right on, like 500.
Not what we wanted to hear, but you deal with what you get, right? We're just thankful that it's very treatable, and he's very optimistic to just get in there and fight it. And that's half the battle, I think, is the positive attitude. And it's just taken him so long. We've been trying to figure out what's going on with him since the first part of May. So it's just kind of relieving to finally, you know, they had done so many tests and said, and so many scans and MRIs and all of that, and said, well, they ruled out all of his organs and everything. And they said, well, we ruled out all the bad stuff. So in your mind you go, oh, thank goodness it's not cancer, you know. Well, then they hadn't really ruled out all the bad stuff. There was still some left, but it's life, right? Well, thank you. I appreciate. We can certainly use all the prayers that can come our way. That is for sure. Yeah. Go get some of that cake, huh?
Can we keep going?